So yeah, let's take the opportunity and get started. Welcome everyone to this webinar, October 6th, I think it's today. I have Alessandro Monti with me. I'll hand over to you in just a minute. Before we do that, let me just very quickly introduce the webinar and who we are. So today we'll be talking about pricing models with a specific focus on monetization-led growth. Very excited to learn in more detail what that is. Just very quickly on myself, my name is Ingo Reinhardt, co-founder, managing director at Buynomics. Have a long track record in pricing and revenue management. Worked in the field pretty much all my professional life, and started a little over 5 years ago. Buynomics, we developed a new method that we call the virtual shoppers. And that allows us and our customers to model very precisely how shoppers or how demand in general reacts to changes in price, changes in the assortment, changes in products, promotions, everything that's relevant for the product offer. And also look at all of these levers in combination, predicts very precisely how demand will react to any kind of change. And because it's software, it provides answers very quickly. So of many tasks that previously took often weeks to conduct, to gather data, analyze data, and so on, you can have now with our software within minutes, all with a click of a button. And because that allows many to make better decisions with more precision, it's also typically possible to find more profitable options. If you're interested in our software, what we do in detail, we won't talk too much about, probably not at all today in the webinar about it. But if you're interested, just reach out to myself or anyone in the team. We're happy to discuss any details. And now, without further ado, I hand over to my guest, Alessandro, and give you the opportunity to just very briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll take it from there. Welcome.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ingo. So first of all, thanks for the invite. It's yeah, I'm excited to be part of this, and I think it's gonna be awesome. So hopefully, we will be able, to share lots of nice and interesting monetization/pricing knowledge. So in a nutshell, about me, probably I think it makes sense to drop some keywords about myself. So you see there, I'm a dean, I'm a prof at a private university in Germany, Cologne. I'm the dean of the marketing, sales, and retail department. I do teach, I research, and yeah, no wonder on lots of things regarding, of course, pricing. Okay, so that's kind of my current status. You interested in how I got to pricing, maybe a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think we have some sort of a common history before Buynomics, for you before starting as a professor. We both worked in consulting here in Simon Kutscher, so from the same region. Yeah, maybe just to get started. So what's been your journey? Just not in too much detail, just 2 or 3 bullets. And then I think what's more interesting for us is what fascinates you most about the topic.
So basically you've said it. My first touch point was with pricing in the consulting and advisory area. So we shared the same employer for I think a couple of months or even years. So that was kind of the first touch point. With pricing, I then switched towards other consulting areas, still covering pricing topics. Had a position in the industry and then a B2B kind of content provider, but basically, yeah, since 2004, since I graduated, yeah, I've been involved in pricing. So that's roughly now 20 years, and it has been a ride. It has been a ride.
So what most fascinates you about the topic?
Wow. Yeah, if I would have, if I need to give you one topic, I think it's the power that kind of emanates from pricing. You know what I mean? So it's just such a powerful instrument. It's such a powerful business function that really can, destroy everything, but can achieve so much. And this is hardly to be found in many other, let's say, business functions or activities. So I think that's managing this power is what really fascinates me. So yeah, I would have to take this.
Yeah, well, what we often say is that companies have two major functions: value creation, value capture. Pretty much everyone else in the company works on the value creation, and pricing, monetization, and revenue management also work part on the capture to make sure that the company is long-term successful.
Yeah, that's true, and it's the hardest part though. It's the hardest part.
Everyone says.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Perfect. So, okay, so I already mentioned monetization. So what are your current topics? What are you researching on? What are you working on?
Yeah, so basically I got two streams of research slash teaching in a way. So one research stream is actually going back to the past. I'm really interested in the history of pricing, so I do lots of stuff that covers how we did pricing things back like 200-300 years ago. So this is kind of one stream. It's probably not super fancy, but there's so much to learn from what happened back in the day. So that's one path. The other path is, of course, more the modern path. I'm trying to hopefully establish actually a new profit-oriented growth motion that has monetization and pricing as its core variable. And this is then the monetization-led growth approach that we will hopefully now be able to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, but before that, I think you kind of got me interested now in how pricing was done 200 years ago.
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
you can
Sure,
one or
of
two
course.
examples on that.
Yeah.
What did they know that was forgotten in the meantime?
Yeah. You know what? When I talk to people, say, "Yeah, I'm doing the history of the boring history." You know what? Actually, there is a research paper of mine. It's in German though, but there is an English post, an article on LinkedIn on this. The subscription economy in the 18th century. Maybe if our viewers and listeners knew or not knew, Mozart himself had a subscription business going on. He tried to sell his piano concerts. So he wrote the very famous 3 piano concerts, and he made them available as a subscription. It tanked completely because he overpriced it so much that hardly anyone could afford it. And the ones who could afford it said, you know what, it's really complicated to play it by myself. I just rather listen to the guy himself playing the concert. So talking about value extraction there, but in a nutshell, the 18th century is a subscription-based economy. Content, so music, books, are sold also via subscription business. So it's nothing. It's nothing. I think the tool set now that we have changes, but the mechanism still the same. Okay. So lots of stuff to be learned, lots of interesting insights, and the problems back then were the same as today. How can I make money with this? I think they did not have Excel, but the challenge was the same, right?
Okay, I wasn't aware of that example, but did it fail because it was too expensive or because of the lack in technology that it was difficult to monetize the music as a subscription?
So I think he failed because he wanted people to subscribe to his concert. So he said, okay, pay me the subscription and I will deliver those 3 concerts. I think it was between 2 months time frame. The point is it was overpriced. With those piano concerts, you could have, and I researched it, you could have bought roughly 700 kilos of bread at that time in Vienna.
Okay.
So it was unbelievable, and it was so complicated that people had trouble in replaying this. So they rather went to his concerts that also were sold as a subscription, and they were sold out all the time.
Okay. Very interesting.
Too high price.
Maybe we'll have an extra
Overpriced.
webinar at some time on
sure.
on pricing.
Count me in. Yeah.
Perfect. So, but let's get a bit more recent. So monetization-led growth. Maybe just what are the core ideas? What's the concept? How does it work?
Yeah, what is it at the end of the day? So what I noticed in recent times is, and actually my newsfeed on LinkedIn, for example, is full of monetization and growth advice that probably is not really suitable in our current times. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Our current time is, first of all, we have very troubled micro and macro environments. So we have inflation, interest rates are high, companies are struggling, investors are very frugal, where they put their money in. So bottom line needs to be, really solid. This is what we did not have, in the days from 2010 towards 2019. So the zero interest rate policy. Back then, you opened your funnel, so you sold something for free, for example, in a digital eco space, something for free, the freemium. You had your users, everything was fine, the metrics were fine, growth was there. Eventually, you tried to convert and monetize these users somehow at the end, but no one asked really questions about profitability. So it was okay. So this is the product-led growth approach, probably a sales-led growth approach, saying, hey, the product brings you in the money, or the salespeople will bring you in the money. But I think that the conditions have changed, right? So the whole environment now is different. And I said, why should we stick to these elements that were okay in a different era, in a different, let's say, condition? Why should we stick now with them now? Things have drastically changed. My point is, let's make pricing and monetization like the core engine of probably a new growth motion, a profitable growth motion. So I came up with this monetization-led approach.
So you already mentioned just one question to
Sure.
clarify. So you already mentioned the relationship between the business model and interest rates. Why is it why do we have this relationship? So why is it if there's zero interest, why don't you have to look for profitability that much?
So at the end of the day, this really applies to VC-funded companies, for example, or any company that probably is able to, borrow money at, no cost. Okay, so that cost part is not relevant to you. So your business, is put on a different, let's say, financial basis. Now, with this in hindsight, nobody really asks questions. Hey, my money costs interest. You need to earn this interest for me because there is no cost. Maybe the questions are not so pressing, to come to profitability, as long as eventually you show that you will somehow in the future earn some money. Okay, so I think that is one of the fundamental links regarding this zero interest, and we are now in a totally different era. So yeah, that's I think the most important link that we have now to establish.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, so that because if interest rates are low, profits you make in the future, very much in the future,
are
discounted that much,
exactly.
So that they're worth a lot. So it makes sense then to focus on growth.
There's no pressure. There is no pressure, exactly. And and you focus on something different than profitability/pricing.
I would say there is lots of pressure being in the game, but
a different kind of,
there's a shift in priority that's for
sure. Yeah, totally.
So you already mentioned like some of the VC business, but also our listeners come from all kinds of industries. Maybe we can look at some examples when you talk about monetization-led growth. What are some good examples? Maybe like from e-commerce or SaaS business,
Exactly.
but also from the more physical.
Yeah, sure. So of course, this really nicely applies for the online and digital world. Okay, so there are quite some nice examples where companies have shifted away from their, let's say, rather product and sales focused growth approaches towards more, solid monetization. As of today, I looked it up. Canva has shifted away from their free and freemium approaches. Airtable, maybe you're aware of Airtable, so kind of that Excel style, a SaaS business has shifted away from the free options more towards monetization options. So we see even smaller players. I researched a company that's called AHA, exclamation mark, which is basically a platform that offers tools for software developers. And they got rid of their free option, like totally, completely got rid of free. So they will charge you, they will monetize you. They, for example, have built in automatic price increases, 3% every year. Hey, that's monetization, and that's that brings money to the table. So that's the online world, that's the digital world. Other examples, actually a non-example, I would even argue, is Tesla. So let's talk about this. As of this morning, I got news in my feed. They have dropped again prices for their Model 3 in the US again. So that's growing by what? Not of course by monetizing your product, but by selling it and then by volume. Of course, we're talking a different business. Of course, we need to investigate, what about cost structure? What about the margin that is still enjoyed by Elon? But this is not growing via monetization approaches, via pricing. This is growing via what? Sales and volume. So as this concept is kind of fresh and new, I think we will see more and more companies then making this transition away from the product focused growth towards growth that lies and rests upon pricing and monetization.
Okay, so you mentioned Tesla. What other physical products do you have? Or Tesla, you said it was like a negative example. The question is to me always, is there more nuance to it in the sense that they are also putting a lot of pressure on other companies in the field, right? So if they reduce prices massively, and maybe they are in a better position or have better margins, so they're better capable to reduce prices, and they're using that more as a competitive move to put pressure on other players. So there might be something like that.
Exactly.
Maybe
so I'm thinking about FMCG, for example. Let's talk about food. I mean, we all hear about the shrinkflation narrative and talk, but what is it at the end of the day? That's focusing on monetizing, that's focusing on pricing, and you try to grow your business by focusing on these strategies. So that applies for FMCG, for retail. Of course, the luxury industry, the luxury business has been increasing prices in the midst of one of the greatest crises that we have seen in the midst of the pandemic. And they were selling out their stock. So that's, I think, one of the notion to really aim at monetizing and growing your business, because you cash in, because you have money, and you reinvest now the money towards other ventures. So that could be a nice example as well on how to focus on monetization via or growth via monetization. Let's put it that way.
And so I'm not sure if I completely understood. So you have the example of shrinkflation
Yeah.
now. So just for those who aren't aware of the term, I think it's that you, instead of like increasing the price of a certain product, you essentially reduce the size of the product and maybe keep the price the same. So you, I don't know, you go from a kilo to 900 grams. It's difficult. It's not equally possible in all areas where you have like standard sizes for products, but in those where you don't, this is certainly an option, one that we're seeing right now. I think there's even considering regulation on the topic here in Europe, to put somewhat of a limit to that. So how is that monetization-led growth? Because how would you explain that?
Because the initial, let's say, reaction would be, oh, no, I'm losing volume. Oh, no, I have to do something. Customers are not, demanding as they were because prices, et cetera, et cetera. The first reaction would be, oh, I need to lower prices. Okay. I need to do something to steer demand back and then to try to, get back to, a certain growth path. That is typically the first impulse that many top-level execs have. Okay, so that would be again growing via what? Selling, volume, et cetera, et cetera. So we know the talk, we know the narrative. Now the alternative is to be maybe a little bit smarter and say, okay, what can we do with the other important component of our revenue? Let's say formula. So the pricing component. Okay, and how can we now make this still a success and growth story? So differentiating more, changing the packaging. For example, let's stick now to this example with the FMCG, introducing probably higher price or lower price options, avoiding cannibalization, etc. So you go the monetization, you go the pricing way, and try to then maintain your growth story intact. Okay, so this is the alternative way, and it accounts for both online and offline companies, I would say.
Yeah, maybe just to throw in another example, probably the most important product we have on the planet right now, the iPhone. I don't have one, so I don't know all the details, but I looked at their portfolio and pricing, and what I noticed was that over the past years they have actually made very limited changes. I would say they haven't changed prices. They added more valuable products. So they had like the small one, so the slower processor. So they had two processors, two sizes, and they added like an extra product in the middle. And the last thing they did is I think they removed in the top model the smallest data package they have. So in effect, you could argue they made changes in the portfolio more towards the higher end, but they haven't really changed prices over the past couple of years. My thinking would be that makes sense because they also massively monetize on other things, right? So with their app shops, with search money they get from Google, for example. So it's a much more complicated game there, and they're not completely reliant on the product prices.
You're absolutely right. Now we're talking, of course, one of the iconic brands of our times. Okay, so first of all, you're able to monetize this brand and the story behind it. My point is, Apple has been terrific in really, playing the whole differentiation and monetization strategy game, like probably since day one. As you said, introducing, the smaller versions, the Pro, the Max, all of this, and then people are buying. People are buying because, first of all, they like the product, but they seem to be okay with, the price tag. And you said it right. Apple is monetizing also on other parts, on the accessories. I researched, there is an Apple cloth. The microfiber cloth, I mean, if our viewers or listeners are aware of this, it costs 29 euros. It's a small, tiny little microfiber cloth. 29 euros, the Apple microfiber. There is the USB cable from Apple. I researched it. I think it's 149, 149, 129. I don't know. It's way out of scope. They're monetizing it. Okay, so it's yeah, they done things right, definitely.
Yeah, perfect. Maybe let's go to the next, and to all our listeners who are here live, if you have any question to Alessandro, please write them in the chat, and we'll put them to him at the end of the session. Maybe before we close, I think many of our listeners are working as pricing revenue growth managers in different industries, and if they want to introduce monetization-led growth in their company, how should they do it? What are the typical challenges? I think I would expect that it's difficult in most companies to actually implement like a switch in how they approach monetization pricing. What's your recommendation? How would they go about doing that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So first of all, I would try to seek, or let me rephrase, I would try to establish the appropriate mindset first. Okay, so in many companies, and this is the fate of many revenue and pricing managers, so they have this appropriate mindset, but it's not established in the whole of the company, especially at the top level. Still, the market share narrative, still the volume narrative, is dominant. So I think a very important step is to really create the sense of urgency to change the growth motion and change the growth engine of the company towards this path. Maybe it's a seminar, maybe it's a workshop, maybe it's the pricing and revenue manager, that brings this to the table and helps to really embed this mindset from top down. So I think this is super important. The next step would be to really seek out on the roles and responsibilities on every company. Okay, so sometimes we have growth marketers, sometimes we have marketing managers, we have the revenue managers and pricing managers. So they would all be suitable to be part of this transition. So I think an internal assessment on roles and responsibilities, capabilities and skills is very important. And the third step is then to really then deep dive into the pricing and monetization status. So the classic, the as is situation audit. Okay, so where do we have pain points? Is this okay? Is this not okay? Seek out the potentials and then derive a strategic narrative that you then break down into operative steps. So I acknowledge every company is so unique and different, but probably mindset, people, and then agenda is kind of a nice approach to shift towards this.
Perfect. I think that was a good last sentence. I have one question. If someone's interested or got interested now in the webinar, what are good resources to dig a bit deeper into the topic?
Yeah, what are good resources? So first of all books on pricing and monetization are, of course, good resources because monetization-led growth builds upon the foundations and the fundamentals of pricing and monetization. Okay, so everything that has pricing as its resource. So any book, I mean, I could recommend Hermann Simon is like the godfather of pricing in a German and English speaking world. I could recommend other online resources, but there's a ton out there. Okay, first of all, that would be this. I would say feel free to reach out to me. I mean, I keep posting stuff on this, and there are other content creators out there in the space that have really awesome ideas. And yeah, and you guys keep also doing nice pricing stuff. So that's definitely a recommendation there.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us about monetization-led growth. I think we I certainly learned something, not just about Mozart. And yeah, we should definitely do at some point a webinar just on like pricing from the antique to the modern age, something like that.
Definitely.
That would be definitely interesting. So everyone, thank you very much for attending the webinar today. So today was the Buynomics talk with Alessandro Monti. Next week, for everyone's interested, we'll talk about pricing methods, give an overview of the toolkits, what are the recent tools that are being used in the field. Then in 2 weeks, we have another Buynomics talk with Kai Markus Müller. And then after that, one webinar I'm really looking forward to each year, the pricing horror stories, the Halloween special. So we look at cases where pricing didn't go so well. We have gathered a large collection of these. Really looking forward to this more fun session. Before we close, if you like this talk, please talk to your friends and colleagues about us, like us on LinkedIn. And we're always happy to do a personal session if you want to learn more about what we do here at Buynomics. With this, thanks everyone. Have a great weekend. Hope to see you soon. And thank you again, Alessandro. It was a good talk for us. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do another one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ingo. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And yeah, have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye.